Those nasty, mean-spirited right-wingers are at it again. When 60,000 freedom-loving choir boys from North Africa landed on the beaches of Spain this week, bringing nothing but good tidings and cheer, those lousy conservatives began pointing out that this is a violation of both Spain's sovereignty and an offense against common sense and decency. They labeled the event an invasion and really displayed their own ignorance when they correctly pointed out that importing a bunch of fighting-age Muslim men into your country might not be the best policy, especially when that same group of people throughout history have shown a really keen interest in conquering and murdering you. When will these far right extremists learn that their offensive truth telling is both offensive and true, and therefore illegal in Europe? I'm Tyler Chrestman. Welcome to the Chrestman Conversation. Hello, everyone, and welcome in. We have two topics we're going to get into this week. We're going to be talking about the invasion of Spain as well as the New York second home tax. I guess before we get into that, I should probably address why I'm here. I'm not at home, as you can tell. We don't have all the fancy looking books behind me, and I obviously don't have my beautiful microphone headset set up looking like I'm in a old VHS commercial for camcorder on the camera, but I am not home. I am lost in the wilderness out here in the lovely St. Peters, Missouri, and just didn't have my home set up. Wasn't able to get downtown to record today. So we're making it happen. We're working with what we got. The audio, the video might not be as up to quality as we normally would like it, but the thoughts, insights, and wonderful sarcasm of the intro are, as always, up to snuff. So we're going to get into it. But before we do that, our favorite comment from last week comes from Tammy Caviar, who just said, very cool video with not one, not two, not even three, but count them, 4 exclamation points. Well, I want to say, Tammy, thank you very much. We aim to please here at the Chrestman Conversation. I appreciate the subscription and the comments, as always. I love it when new people start watching the show. It's a great time. And welcome, welcome, welcome. So anyway, let's get into it. Topic 1, the Spanish invasion. That's actually a terrible name as I'm reading it. It really should be called the Moroccan invasion of Spain, but because it's not a Spanish invasion. Spain didn't invade anywhere, but Spain absolutely was invaded this week. 60,000 people from Morocco came in by boats to the city territory. I have heard the city or the territory, whatever you want to call it, I have heard it pronounced probably 10 different times in probably 5 different ways. So I think depending on whether you're Spanish or from North Africa or English, you pronounce the city a little differently. I'm going to call it Ceuta because that's what some people have been calling it, Ceuta. If you call it something else, that's fine. If it's the mispronunciation, that's fine. I've heard it pronounced a lot of different ways. I don't actually know what the real correct way to say the name is because, as I said, depending on where you're from, you say it differently. 60,000 people from Morocco came into this Spanish territory, and I want you to take a look. The one thing about using Microsoft Teams as opposed to the software I normally use is I'm not quite as good at navigating it, so I'm going to do my best here. Okay, so I want you to take a quick look at what we got here. So just take a look at this map and you can kind of see what we're dealing with here. So this is a zoomed in version. As you can see, here's the world map over here in the corner. This is a zoomed in version of Spain, the Strait of Gibraltar, and Morocco. Well, this Spanish territory is actually this little peninsula right here off the coast of Morocco. So way closer to Africa than Spain, where all of these boats hit hit this week. So 60,000 people all at once come across this little, I guess it's about 3 miles. You can leave from the coast of Africa and you can go to that island kind of around the blockade. It takes about 3 miles, they said. So 60,000 people hit. There's not a lot of people who live in this territory. So 60,000 people is about 70% of the population. So a gigantic influx of people all over the course of basically a day and a half, 2 days. That island, or the peninsula, I should say. I think it's connected by land, makes it a peninsula, right? I don't think it's actually an island. The peninsula has been in Spanish control since 1580. So this is not something that relatively recently Spain took a hold of. They've had this for centuries at this point. The Spanish Prime Minister is a guy named Pedro Sanchez. He visited the territory and this week, and he described what was happening. And this is a quote from the Spanish Prime Minister. He described it as, quote, a violation of Spain's territorial integrity. Now, that sounds like something I would say. That sounds like something you would say. I assume if you're watching this show, you are an upstanding citizen with wonderful insight into the world, just like me. So, but it sounds strange coming from the Spanish Prime Minister. Why do I say that? Because Pedro Sanchez is a socialist, and the socialist government of Spain recently did a bunch of things that would absolutely encourage illegal immigration into their country. They basically been throwing down the welcome mat saying, welcome, welcome, migrants. We need you. Please, please, please. The government of Spain recently moved to give residency and work permits to hundreds of thousands of people who were in that country illegally. They actually use the term irregularly now. I guess this is the new euphemism for illegal, but they say irregularly. So the way that illegal alien went to undocumented, I guess it's now going to go with irregularly entered the country instead of illegally entered the country. No, he moved about 300 to 450,000 people to give them work permits and residency. At the same time, the migration minister of Spain, this person named Elma Saez, said Spain needs as many as 300,000 tax-paying foreign workers, I should say. That's what she said. Tax-paying foreign workers per year to sustain the benefits. That includes the pension and healthcare, unemployment, all of the things that the socialist government of Spain wants to give people. They need up to 300,000 people per year. Hey, 60,000 in one day, you are ahead of the curve, right? Like you are going to do a great job of hitting that quota that you have encouraged to come into your country. So why would you be upset about this? Sanchez, again, the socialist, argued that it's going to be good for the economy and the demographics of an aging Spain to import a bunch of foreign-born workers into the country. I just have to say, you're basically throwing out a blinking light to moths to a flame. You're throwing out this blinking light, and then you're wondering why all these people are trying to wash up on the shores of your country. You're saying, how dare they? You are granting work permits and residency to people who came there illegally. Why wouldn't more illegal people want to come? They're saying, oh, I can just stay if I come. It's absolutely true. Now, there's part of this that's true. When the Spanish prime minister, he's out there saying that it's a violation of the sovereignty of Spain. Well, then part of this is probably true. The Moroccan government appears to have organized this. It's not organic. Obviously, 60,000 people don't hit the beach in one day on accident. It's not as though they all just showed up there and said, "Oh my gosh, if you're here too, look, Abdul, it's Abdul, and he's also here." And 60,000 of them happened at once. No, the foreign ministry or the intelligence agency, someone. There's many reports that the Moroccan government was out there basically facilitating the launch, partly to embarrass the government of Spain and make Sanchez look bad because the government of Spain has recently moved to improve relations with Algiers, who is the enemy of Morocco. So there's some gamesmanship going on here. But at the same time, it puts the government of Spain in an awkward position because Sanchez loves illegal immigration. He's been asking for more and more and more. And now, when he's faced with the reality of his bad policies and the incentives that he has laid down, he's forced to say, "Well, this is bad and this is terrible," and have that juxtaposition of his actions and his words, which don't make a lot of sense, make him look terribly. What I find funny about this entire thing, more than the fact that it's the socialist, understanding that his terrible policies really, really are doing harm to his country. What's really funny about it is this. I want to show you the, hold on, as always, let me take my time here because I'm not good with this. The backlash that you have seen from, hold on, we got it. Here it is. All right, take a look at this. So the backlash that the right wing gets for pointing out the patently obvious. So this is from NBC News. The headline reads, Europe's far right stokes invasion fears after mass border crossing in Spanish enclave. So really, guys, here's the problem. It's the right, the far right in their invasion fears. You know how it is, those nasty right wingers. My goodness. This thing is right in the way of where I need it to be. Okay, that's not helpful at all. One sec. So I want you to take a look. Take a look at these pictures. So remember, this is the map. Those dirty right wingers called this an invasion. Guys, who would ever call this an invasion? Look at all these people. For those of you just listening, imagine a comically large army of individuals hitting the beaches like they're storming Normandy. Just thousands and thousands of people blanketing the hillsides of Spain. Now, the right wing, obviously, are dirty, nasty meanies who would call this an invasion, stoke fears of an invasion from Africa by looking at these pictures. How about this picture? How about this one? All right. Oh my gosh. Here's something. I want to zoom in on this, and hopefully this works on the Microsoft Teams. I want to zoom in. I want to ask you a question. What do you notice about these people who are sitting here? What do we notice? Now, I've been told that what we have is a refugee crisis. Oh, it's the poor policies of the West. Now, look at all these people. Look at all of them. All right. I want you to hold this in your mind. Tell me, what do they all have in common? Okay. Because I'm going to scroll up to another picture. I'm going to give you a second shot at this if you can't figure out what they all have in common. Now, look at this guy. Now, this guy seems like the only intelligent guy on the beach. He's running away. All right. Here they are. More of them hitting the water. Tell me again. What do you notice? All of these people, what do they all have in common? And I know it's a hard question. Winnie. Hello, Winnie. Come up here. All of these people have one thing in common. And for those of you, again, just listening, you can't answer the question. Come up here if you want to yell at me. So they are all working age, what I'll call fighting age men. All of them. Every single person in that picture was probably between the ages of 14 and 30. All a bunch of young men who are coming over. It is absolutely ridiculous to me that we are in a position where we don't recognize the fact that there are no women, there are no kids, they're not fleeing anything. What they're doing is either looking for economic migration or they just want to move to Europe for nefarious purposes. Okay? Either of those things are bad. We don't understand. Economic migration is not a good thing. It's not a good thing for the country of Spain, just like it's not a good thing. Oh, bye, Winnie. It's not a good thing for the United States. But what's funny is you call this an invasion. Well, that's because it's a fighting force age worth of people. It's not a bunch of old men. It's not a bunch of old women. It's not a bunch of kids carrying toys. What this is a bunch of men who are of conscription age coming in and landing on the shores of Spain. Now, what's funny is Muslims have been trying to take over Europe since the 8th century. Guys, I don't know how familiar you are with the caliphate as it used to stand, but basically in the year 710, something like that. I can't remember exactly when it was. 700, 710, somewhere around the year 700. Muslim forces from Morocco launched into Spain and took over the whole country. The whole country or the whole territory of Iberia, but Spain, they took the whole thing open. You're talking thousands and thousands of troops from Morocco, crossed the Strait of Gibraltar, landed in Spain, took over the whole country. The only thing that stopped the Muslim incursion into Europe was the fact that a large section of their forces were defeated by Charles Martel. That's it. That is the only thing that stopped the Muslim invasion of Europe in the 8th century. So now we say, oh, well, it's fine because it's a whole different time. But the reality is now we're just inviting in this foreign horde of fighting age men to take over the country of Spain again. I don't care about Spain. I'll be honest. I don't care about Spain. They elected a socialist. They have a socialist government. I don't care. It's not like I really care what happens to the politics in that country. But what happens in Europe is imported to America. We don't live. When I say this, I understand that we do technically live kind of on an island. It's a gigantic continent of an island, but it's completely separate from the body of Europe. And what happens in Europe, though, it doesn't stay there. It gets imported here, and that comes from bad policies as well as bad people. They don't just stay in Europe. So we run into this big problem where we're watching the West commit suicidal empathy. This idea that they are so empathetic that they are willing to just sacrifice their culture, their history, and their peoples to nicety or tolerance, diversity, whatever we want to call it. And it's terrible because they're not playing nice. Like this is a joke to think that the other cultures in the world share Western values. I want to show you this. There was a debate. I was going to make this an entire topic, but I decided to just make it part of this topic because it goes hand in hand. There was a debate at the Oxford Union this week between some of the students at Oxford and Tommy Robinson and a couple other people. But there's one section of the debate that really floated around. I didn't watch the whole thing. I don't normally think Tommy Robinson in a debate is useful. I don't think he's the world's greatest debater. I think Lawrence Fox was part of this too. So it's an interesting thing. Maybe I'll watch it. I probably won't. But this one clip I thought was amazing because they're basically debating the proposition that Islam is a religion of peace or Islam is compatible with the West. You could phrase it a bunch of different ways, but here's a part of the debate. This is from the pro-Islam is a religion of peace, we're compatible with Western values, it's all fine, we're all the best. This is from someone who's arguing that that's true, and this is the argument that's made. All right, take a look.
Perhaps tonight's motion is less about the West's relationship with Islam and more about yours. Stephen Yaxley Lennon, known to his hooligans as Tommy Robinson. Stephen, there is a crowd outside rioting against you tonight, and without the protection and generosity of a Muslim Palestinian president and a mostly South Asian executive committee, you would be quite literally cooked.
Okay, it might be hard to understand what with the slang from Gen Zer. But the person arguing that Islam is a religion of peace says, Tommy, you're a bad guy. People don't like you. And if it wasn't for us here standing in between you, the mob of unruly Muslims outside would murder you. A completely tone-deaf argument from this woman. And hilarious. But again, thinks it's a good point. Because she's a Muslim, and she says, well, I'm here to debate you at Oxford, one of the most prestigious universities in the entire world. But if it wasn't for me, the rest of the Muslims out there with their salivating for your blood, the bloodlust, they would murder you. And she thinks that's a good argument. Because my whole point is this, she sounds like me. So many Muslims in the West are at least partially, if not fully, they embrace Western values. So that's why you see your next door neighbor is Muslim or his parents came over from somewhere and you go, this guy is as American as I am because he doesn't take his religion seriously. He's a Muslim, but he's a Muslim the way a lot of people are Christians, meaning that maybe he goes to mosque every once in a while, but he doesn't take it seriously. He's not jihad, jihad, jihad. Let's go kill the infidels. He's just a guy who happens to be Muslim the way I'm a guy who happens to be Christian, but I'm not out there trying to stone gays or do any of this. And you have this thing in the West where you look at that and you go, oh yeah, we're neighbors. We're in a bowling league together. But what you don't realize is that the 1.5 billion Muslims in the world, take the tiny 3 million Muslims who live in the United States and pretend that they're all like that. And the overwhelming majority of them throughout the world are not. They grew up in a different culture. They don't believe in Western values. And I'm not just saying this. Find me a poll from the Muslim world that says that they believe in secularism or individual autonomy or their treatment of gays or their treatment of women or what they believe about apostates. Any poll that says that they're fine, and we'll have a different conversation. But the problem is that we conflate these two groups of people because we say, well, Jimmy next door is Muslim and Abdul Jihad in Afghanistan is Muslim, and we are all just one people. And it's not true, because if your proposition as that guy says, well, I love everybody. Hey, that's great. I do too. I want everyone in the world to succeed. I want everyone to be happy. I think it would all be great, kumbaya, if we all hold hands. But I'm also a realist in the sense that if that guy wants to chop your head off, then you would be a fool to say, well, let's hold hands and be nice to each other, because he wants to kill you. And the problem is that we take our values and we assume that everyone in the world shares them. This woman's just saying the quiet part out loud, that we don't share those values, and that all of these people who are hitting the beach of Spain, they probably don't share those values. So anyway, not the flex that you think it is. And that's it. That's Islam, the religion of peace right there. So let's get into topic 2, because we're already hitting the 35-minute mark here. Topic 2, the New York second home tax. Now, Mayor Zohran Mamdani in New York, as you know, he said he was going to tax second homes. They elected him. He passed it. It's happening. I think July 1st. I mean, it's been a month now. It went into effect. There was some controversy this week because of something we'll get into. But basically, 13,000 homes in New York are eligible for this second home tax. The idea behind it, I'm not going to attempt. I don't know, it's like a tongue twister for me to try and say the fancy term for this. I don't know. It's like I can't speak French or whatever it is. It's just driving me nuts. I tried to say it earlier and I was like, oh my God, I sound like I got hit in the head with a hammer. So, so we're just calling it the second home tax because that's what it is. But the 13,000 homes that are eligible for this are going to raise $500 million. The idea behind the tax is that if you own a residence in New York City that is not your primary residence, so either it's a second home or it's a rental home, whatever the case may be, you're going to get a special tax at a different rate than the rest of the people. So the rates here are incredibly confusing, by the way. I was reading something from some tax lawyers who basically say it's almost unworkable because it is a very confusing how much money you're supposed to owe. People are cheering this tax. Yeah, we're taxing the rich, baby. Woo! Throw a party. My guess is that this is not going to have the effect that those people think it's going to have. First of all, we tax the rich more than anyone else. It's crazy to me that people are still, they believe this meme, which is just a flat out lie, that the rich do not pay taxes. The rich pay all the taxes. I'm just going to let you know. The top, so first of all, the top 50%, I think my numbers here, please fact check me. I think my numbers here are correct, but I'm trying to refresh in my brain here exactly what they are. The top 50% of all earners in the country. All right. So that means if you're just in the top 50, which means you're down here in the 51 percentile, you're not rich. But the top 50% of all the people pay all of the taxes. The bottom 50% of the country, they don't pay taxes. You understand this? Half of the country already doesn't pay taxes. When you're accounting for benefits, when you're talking net taxes, they pay nothing. They take more from the government than they put in. So the bottom 50% pay nothing. When you're looking at the top tier of tax, where the government gets its revenue, the 1% pay 10% of all the taxes in the country. 1% of people pay for 10%. The top 10% of people, or I'm sorry, the second, or no, yeah, the top 1% through 10%. So if you take 1 through 10, they pay 30% of all of the taxes. And when you take the top 30%, they're paying 60% of all the taxes. Okay, so you understand the top earners of the country pay almost all of the taxes. They already are taxed exorbitantly. I pay a lot in taxes. I'm not rich. I pay a lot in taxes because I happen to do well. I'm not a 1%er, but I do well and I pay a lot in taxes. The guys who are out there and they make a ton of money and they're like, well, they didn't pay taxes. I promise you, Elon Musk pays more in taxes in 1 year than most of the country will pay over the course of their lifetimes put together. Not individually, put together. So it's ridiculous. But anyway, people are going to flee. That's all that's going to happen in New York City. They're going to find a way to get out of there because this is exactly what happened in other cities. In California, this happened. In Chicago, this happened. Citadel's founder, which is a gigantic hedge fund, moved from Chicago to Miami 4 years ago. And when he did, why'd they do that? Because he said Chicago is creating a climate that is anti-business and pro-crime. And we're not going to do our business there if we're going to be penalized for doing well and succeeding in this country. You demonize the rich, you punish business, and they are going to leave. California has lost billions of dollars in tax revenue and businesses because they moved to Texas and Florida. That's just a fact. They are moving away from these countries to Florida, to Texas, to places that are better climates for business. And the governor of New York made fun of these people before. This is the last little video I want to show you. Absolutely hilarious. The governor, Kathy Hochul, she made fun of people for fleeing, and now she's begging them to come back. And it's hilarious to me, but also not surprising at all. Here we go. Check this out.
Jump on a bus and head down to Florida where you belong, okay? Get out of town. Get out of town. Because you don't represent our values. You are not New Yorkers.
A few moments later.
Just, if you want to be supportive, but maybe the first step should be go down to Palm Beach and see who you can bring back home, because our tax base has been eroded.
Boo this man!
Jump on a...
All right. I mean, but that's just the way it is. They go, the rich are terrible. The rich are the problem. And then the rich people leave and they take all the money that you're trying to steal to give to other people. And immediately you see the switch of, oh, well, please, sir, come back to New York so we can take more of your money. Please, we're poor now. Because the people who make money in this country aren't going to just give money to some politician so they can waste it. I would rather keep all my money. If I had a form I could sign right now that says, would you like to sign out and stop paying into Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security? I'd say, yes, sign it right now. I will keep all of my money. And I don't need that stuff. You know why I don't need it? Because if you gave me that money, I would do a better job than you. I would invest it better than you. I would have more money when I'm older than you're going to give me. But they just don't understand that. The government does everything. They do it poorly. That's just the nature of the beast. And they don't understand why rich people don't want to. I don't want to give my money to Kathy Hochul so that she can take it and then go give it to one of her cronies who is claiming to fix a problem, all the fraud, all the abuse in the system. I'm not going to give it to someone. And I watched some Somali immigrant driving around in a BMW because they opened a fake hospice center. I'm not interested in this. I'll keep my money, thank you. And that person can be denaturalized and go back to Somalia. Boom. We're going to just hit that every week. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there for the week. As always, I am Tyler Chrestman. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. And until next Friday, I hope you take it easy, enjoy yourself, stay safe out there. The world's getting to be a crazy place. I'll see you guys next Friday.